Stop crying about your diabetes. I know that's a pretty provoking introduction to our lesson today, but I crashed my bike super hard and I have scars to prove it. And it actually gave me a really important lesson that I want to share with you about my type 1 diabetes diagnosis day. And a lesson that I hope will allow you to push through hard times, because we all will inevitably encounter hard times while living with type 1 diabetes. Had kind of a sketchy, dangerous one not too long ago that I might get into today. But today's lesson is going to circle more around the mental side, the ability to push through hard times, to keep going when times get tough. If you don't know who I am, my name is Matt Van de Vecht. I'm a certified master fitness trainer and nutritionist living with type 1 diabetes. I'm training for an Ironman right now, and that's why I crashed my bike. And in today's little story, I'm going to break down, without visuals, don't worry, but I'm going to break down what happened and what you can take away from it with your diabetes management and staying motivated while trying to avoid burnout. Quick disclaimer, if you are at a spot in your life right now with your diabetes where you are feeling burnt out, this might be a little bit too aggressive of a message for you. If you're like me and you're at a place in your life where you appreciate what we call hard motivation instead of the it's gonna be okay, but more of like the hey, get off your feet, let's go. Get off your butt, rather, then today's episode might just be the kick in the pants you need. So let's hop into our theme song and we'll start our story. All right, as you no doubt figured out, I have a mustache. This is brand new. Decided that I'm going to roll with it because for some reason, whenever I have a mustache, my blood sugars are way easier. Now, this is not scientifically backed and completely off topic, so we're going to get back to the story. I crashed my bike. At this point, it was about a week ago. I considered showing a few of the injury points, but I realized it's a little bit too messy. I did not want to scare any of the children away. But I've got 7 places on my body that now do not have skin, and they're healing well enough, and I'm okay with it. I'm fine, thankfully. I would call this a medium level crash. You know, no broken bones. I didn't end up in the hospital. I walked away, though it was limping. I was able to walk away. My gear got kind of destroyed, which is a huge bummer. I have 2 bikes that went into the shop the same day, but I'm okay, thankfully. And it did get chewed up quite a bit by the asphalt, and I was picking pieces of asphalt out of my hands and knees and feet and shoulders and all the whole thing. But thankfully, I was wearing my helmet, and I always do. Definitely now can appreciate what a helmet does for me because my helmet was actually dented. And the helmet that I wore is a one-time use helmet where if you crash, they replace it for free because the helmet's designed to take the brunt of the impact, right? So I looked at it afterwards and it was just mangled. I was like, wow, that could have been the end for me. But that's a different topic. No, I crashed my bike and I was in the middle of a workout for my Ironman training, right? And a lot of my workouts are what we call brick workouts, where you do one workout and then without missing a beat, you just jump into the second workout. It's oftentimes 2 different types of activities. So this one day I was doing a bike ride and then going for a run, and I was only about maybe 8 or 9 miles in to my bike ride. And I was supposed to do a 25-mile bike ride and then a 5-mile run, which is pretty standard at this point in my training. I wouldn't say it's anything crazy. If anything, it's shorter than I'm used to, so it wasn't anything I was worried about that day until I crashed. And at the crash point, I realized that I had a choice to make. And the first desire that I had, the first voice in my head was this inner weakness that was like, just go home. You're pretty beat up, you're bruised, you're literally dripping blood on your really expensive gear, like your shoes, your clothes. I was wearing 2 layers of clothes and it ripped through both layers, and I was like, man, my gear is shredded, my bike got damaged, and these bikes are not cheap, and I am just dripping blood. Like, I should go home and take care of this. It would not be wise to continue training. And I thought about it for a second and I was like, would not be wise to continue trying. Let's just take a second and evaluate the situation. And one of the pieces that I wanted to evaluate was actually my insulin pump, because in the crash, my insulin pump flew off of my body, and I noticed it bouncing on the asphalt as I crashed. It was still connected to me, thankfully, but it got a couple of good bounces in and made me a little bit nervous, not gonna lie. My first thought was, does that bounce and the impact of the insulin pump on asphalt mean that the pump is either not going to work properly and might dose or not dose as it's intended, or did it just give me insulin when on the impact, right? Maybe the impact pushed insulin in and I'm like, stop thinking about it. You're just gonna freak yourself out. Just, look for signs of blood sugars not cooperating, but just, you're gonna have to continue on, because I was, 5 miles away from home still. And didn't have a car. So at the very least, I'm gonna have to ride home. And so I did turn around, and on my way back, I heard this other voice in my head. So you have the inner weakness, right? I had this other voice pop in and say, you really gonna give up on the efforts you've already put in? Right? You've already put in 8-9 miles. You're gonna have to just do this again tomorrow or another day. If you quit right now, you're gonna have to do it again. You've already put the work in, just keep going. Just see how far you can take it. Maybe it's just a bike ride, maybe you don't go for a run, but let's see how far you can go. What more can you do, right? And this is what I call the warrior's voice, the inner warrior, where there is a voice on both sides of the spectrum. One is pushing us towards greatness, and one is pushing us towards settling for whatever you call it, standard life, right? And on the way home, I was like, you know what? Just kind of take an inventory of the situation. My bike still mostly functions. I can't shift too far up or down. I can only get a couple of gears that actually work still. But I'm like, the bike feels safe. I don't hear any creaks or cracks. I feel good enough. It hurts, but I'm pretty sure I can muscle through this. And so I made a decision on the way home that I would muscle through and finish the workout. And I thought, you know what? We're here. Let's just make the most of it. And as soon as I made that decision, with that phrase in my head, the exact phrase, let's just make the most of it, I had a flashback to the day that I was diagnosed with diabetes, where I got hit with some news, right? Where I was like, life, very different right now, right? I got this autoimmune disease. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if I can do this or what's going to be part of the plan or how life is going to look different. It wasn't life ending, right? It's like my bike crash. It was a medium level crash. I got banged up, but I was okay. With diabetes, it wasn't news that I was going to die in a week, right? Now, to be fair, my doctor at the time did tell me I would be dead within 10 years, which was wildly inaccurate. And that was almost 15 years ago. So screw you. But there was a lot of misinformation when I was first diagnosed. Unfortunately, the medical system is not as standardized as I would like, or I should say not as updated. So they're decent with standardization. But anyways, when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it initially felt like the end. I wanted to go home and cry and just give up, right? I wanted to curl into a ball and say, this isn't fair. And I don't want to be here, right? Not like I was at that place yet where I truly didn't want to be here. That point would come many years later with my own life, my own diabetes, questioning if life was worth it. But that's a different story. No, this diagnosis for me with type 1 diabetes was life-changing, but not life-shattering. And I think a lot of us have had a moment where maybe we initially thought that it was life-shattering, that we need to go home and just lay down and give up, right? But then realizing that there is hope, that I can still make this count, right? And then having that discussion of what does it look like to make it count? So for me with the bike ride and the run and everything, I made a decision that I wasn't trying to make it look pretty, but I was going to finish it, right? And with diabetes, life looks different. It's not going to look pretty all the time. In fact, I had an experience this morning that was not pretty. Not going to lie. The numbers 911 crossed my mind for like a minute, and I was like, uh-oh. I was like, this is sketchy, right? And that still happens to me too. But it's not the end, and it doesn't have to be, right? You don't have to give up just because you have diabetes. In fact, let's see if I can get the shirt to show. If you can see that message on the back, right? We've got keep up the fight, because every day with diabetes, we wake up and we get to choose if we will keep up the fight or if this is the day we give up. For me, I will continue to keep up the fight. And I expect the same of you. I'm not going to say, oh, I hope you keep up the fight. I expect you to keep up the fight. There is no other option. you will keep up the fight. Because if you don't, you're not only letting down yourself, you're letting down me, right? You watch my stuff. So if you don't keep up the fight, who am I? That means my messaging isn't working, but you're letting down those around you as well. And when we choose to keep up the fight, we accomplish far greater things than we ever thought of without pushing, without overcoming obstacles and challenges, right? The rest of that bike ride was not pretty, but I kept going. It hurt, actually. It literally have blood stains on my shoes now. And those shoes were not cheap. I was kind of upset about that. Got them on my running shoes too, because I did complete the run as well. It was not fast. Like I said, it didn't look pretty, but I got it done. And that's the goal with diabetes here at first. If you're at that place right now, I want you to know it doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to get done. With your blood sugar management, it doesn't have to be perfect, streamlined, 5.5 A1C, 100% time in range, 15 standard deviation, beautiful blood sugars all over the place, doing whatever. That's not how it is on day one for anyone. And I post these images, these screenshots, I've had an above 90% time in range average for over 5 years now. But guess what? I've had diabetes for almost 15 years. So you hear me talking about the last 5 years, it's been fantastic, right? Things are different now because I use what we call blood sugar formulas, right? So I found something that works really well for me, and life looks a lot better now, a lot brighter. There's a lot more hope involved in my day-to-day, and it allows me to do ridiculous things like train for an Ironman. Run a business, have a family, eat fun foods. That's great and all, but I know that not everyone's there right now. And the message you might need to hear is it doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to get done. Okay? So looking at your blood sugars, you're going to have rough days. I had a rough morning, and it completely shot my calendar. For a couple hours, I was just like, goodness gracious, what the heck happened? And how do I recover from this? In fact, you know what? It's too big of a story to cram into the end of this episode. We're going to put it up next week. I'll do a full story on it, tell you about the lessons learned, why it happened, what I learned from it, the whole thing. My daughter saw it, and I had to talk to her about it a little bit, and I don't think she understands, but it's okay. But today's lesson is recognizing that you're going to encounter challenges, especially if you're trying to do great things, right? If you're not encountering any challenges, guarantee you're living below your potential. If you're like, oh, life's easy, I've been coasting for years, you are significantly underselling the value of your life. You are not accomplishing the things that you were meant to be, the things that you were created to be. And that's sad too, right? But everyone has a starting point, and sometimes the starting point is just about getting it done. It doesn't have to look pretty, but you do have to finish the race, or the workout, or the meal, or the day, whatever it is, you gotta finish it. So when you think about your diabetes, and when I think about going back to day one, I didn't want to take care of myself, and I didn't for a few years. It was pretty messy. It wasn't something I'm proud of. I lived in ignorance. I was in denial that I had this disease that could kill me. I was like, yeah, well, the doctor said I'm going to die anyway, so why would I try? I'm just going to live it up and have some fun, not really count my cards or worry too much about when to take insulin and how much to take. I'll just throw some at it every once in a while. And it was dangerous. It definitely landed me in the hospital a few times, and a few other times where I should have been in the hospital. Were I conscious? That's kind of sketchy, right? Waking up from a low, that's not fun. Those things can be avoided when you pay attention to it and you're more intentional about learning behind the science behind your blood sugars. But when I crashed my bike, there was a strong desire to just go home, call it a day, we'll try again another time, right? But we've come this far. For me, 8 miles, not that much, right? For a bike ride, especially when I'm supposed to be doing 50, 60, 70, eventually 120 miles. That's the goal. And then just for the bike, the full Ironman is over 140 miles for all the events. But when you look at how far you've come, whether it was you're diagnosed 6 months of age, or maybe you're diagnosed at 60 or later, right? You've come that far, then you got diagnosed with diabetes. It doesn't mean it's the end. Okay, you get to keep going. We have insulin. We have now what we teach, blood sugar formulas. There are strategies. There's ways to live your best life and continue to complete the race, but you have to make that decision. And on the inside of your head, at diagnosis, but also every day that you wake up, you will continue to face two different voices in your head: the inner weakness and the inner warrior. The inner weakness is going to tell you to take the easy path, to take the path of least resistance. The inner warrior is going to encourage you to pursue greatness no matter how difficult the challenges are that you must overcome to get there. I promise you that the more often you listen to the inner warrior, the quieter the inner weakness gets. And alternatively, the more you listen to the inner weakness, the more you feed into fear, anxiety, laziness, the quieter the inner warrior gets. They will never completely be silent. They never cease to exist. They'll always be there, both of them inside your head. Even if you continue to follow the inner warrior's voice, the moment you let your guard up, the inner weakness is going to creep back into your head, as it did me. Middle of a bike ride. I should go home, go cry about it, right? No, I'm going to keep pushing. I will finish the race, even if it's not pretty, even if it's not my fastest bike ride, even if it's not my fastest run. My coach saw the results, wasn't impressed until he found out that I crashed. And he was like, oh, okay, are you okay? Right? But I chose to pursue the more difficult path, the narrow path. And with diabetes, the first step is making a decision to keep up the fight, to continue to push forward. Second step looks like challenging yourself to tighten the reins, right? Tighter A1C, time and range, standard deviation, to push for blood sugar formulas where you can keep blood sugars controlled while living your best life, right? And that's stuff we teach in our programs. If you ever get the chance to work with me and apply to work with us, great. Happy to see if that's something we can help with down the road. But for now, I want you to make a commitment to yourself, to me, and to the comments section that you will keep up the fight, that you will choose to listen to the inner warrior, to push down the inner weakness as often as possible. Tell them that you're not going to give them a listening ear. You're not going to entertain their thoughts on giving up, because giving up with diabetes is not an option. And while I could have gone home, put my bike up, and called it quits for the day, there is no quitting with diabetes. You can't just stop. This is a race that must be run daily, and it's a race with no finish line. It's one of the most difficult races there is. So today, I come to you to share a message of hope, but also one that I hope makes you feel like you got some catching up to do, right? Because there is no quitting. There is no crying about your diabetes, because the more often you take that breath to rest, the more difficult diabetes gets. If you take a day off, blood sugars go crazy. It's not that you can't take a day off, but the more consecutive days off you want to take, the more simple it is for us to fall down the wrong path. So stay strong. Recognize when the inner weakness voice is starting to creep up again. And I want you to choose the hard path, to take notes with your blood sugars, to count the carbs, to identify your actual insulin to carb ratio instead of a best guess for your doses, to take steps towards actually setting up your blood sugar formulas so that you can operate with more certainty behind your blood sugar management. So you can know this is going to work and I know why. And getting that deeper understanding of what's going on can truly make a difference in your quality of life and your peace of mind as well. That's what it did for me. So I hope you found this one helpful. It was more of a lesson for myself in recognizing that when I was first diagnosed, I also wanted to go home and cry, give up, and call it quits. I wasn't ready for that kind of a crash in my life, to get diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and that's okay. But it can't be the end. We must choose to keep up the fight. Now, we put this newsletter out every month, And it's something that I always end with a mindset piece. Last month was really fun for me to write. Kind of lessons like this, usually a little bit deeper, a little more profound, but throughout the newsletter, we give people a chance to get a peek into a lot of my own experimentation with blood sugars. So I experiment with exercise, different types of meals, different lifestyle managements. It's a lot for me, but I am a mad scientist at heart. So if you're curious about what it is that we're researching, what it is that we're trying to experiment with, what works with my clients, I also love to get examples of them and what they've found works best for different scenarios, right? Like how to run a marathon, how to walk your dogs, how to win a food eating contest, or how to just navigate pasta once when you're going out with your friends or family, right? If you want to get access to that, we send it out every single month. I write it up myself, and it's a really great opportunity to stay updated, to stay current with the strategies of what's working and what's not working anymore with blood sugar management. We actually have an opportunity for you to get your first newsletter for free. If you'd like to go check it out, you can go to renegadenewsletter.com. You can tell my shirt says Renegade Warrior. This is a reminder to myself and to everyone who wears this shirt that as renegades, we think differently than our doctors would have us think. You know, we look at how can we achieve better outcomes than the standard 7A1C, 70% time in range. No, I'm shooting for the best version of me. And if you're the kind of person that wants the same for yourself, more predictable blood sugars, a deeper understanding of why blood sugars do what they do, go to renegadenewsletter.com. First one's on me. I want you to check it out before you sign up, just to make sure you like it, that it's helpful for you. And if you like it, we'll ship you out the next one every month and keep you up to date on all things type 1 diabetes, how to master it and how to simplify it. So I hope you found this one helpful again. I am okay, thankfully, no broken bones. I got a new helmet and my bike's in the shop. It'll be ready to go soon. And I'm actually going back out tomorrow for a very long bike ride. My coach was adamant that I get back out there. So I got a whole trek ahead of me, but appreciate you. And I want you to know that I'm rooting for you as you keep up the fight. We'll see you next time.